back about a decade now. Sue Runnels is she, she was over there at Hobo before, I don't know, 3 resource centers ago, and Hobo stood for helping our brothers out, and some of the gals say, and our sisters. And Sue was dealing with the numbers, and Sue has done some great things, and she is now the owner, entrepreneur of the Flick Report, which is Austin's commercial real estate magazine, a very great rags to riches story, my friend Sue Runnels.
Yay, Sue! Always great to touch the microphone in case it breaks. Thank you. In the late 18th century, London was hit by a plague that eventually killed over 1/3 of its population. As thousands of people were dying, the aristocracy turned their back because, of course, the plague was only supposed to hit the poor and the unwanted. It wasn't until the plague knocked on the doors of the aristocracy that the wave of death was even acknowledged.
All right.
Many years later, London was struck again by a great fire, and once again, the potential magnitude of devastation was ignored. The fire, after all, was only supposed to hit the docks and the slums, once again striking the poverty. The crisis was ignored until it reached into the aristocratic areas. But this time it was too late. The powers that be had turned their backs for too long. They turned a blind eye, and the fire raged until the city was destroyed. In 1987, Congress declared homelessness a national crisis. And yet I stand here with a heavy heart as once again we have another year's memorial for those who have lost their lives to the streets.
Amen.
It is my fear that homelessness is the plague or the great fire of our century, left unchecked and unacknowledged by the powers that be. But as I look around me, I see politicians, I see business owners, I see caregivers, I see advocates, I see lawyers, I see teachers, and I see the homeless. It is now my hope that after 25 years, we have finally garnered the attention of the powers that be, that they can no longer turn their backs to us, and that the end of homelessness is near.
Amen.
So as we bow our heads, say a prayer, and shed a tear for those who have lost their lives to the streets, let us not lose the hope that next year we won't have such a sad reason to gather together. Thank you.
Amen. Amen.
But my good friend, Councilmember Danny Thomas,
Yeah.
to lead us in prayer.
Right.
Let us pray. Father in heaven, as we come today, God, we first of all thank you for allowing us to be here. God, we pray for the ones that weren't able to be here, but to see another memorial service, God, but they left because it was their time, but also because of the circumstances that are going on. God, I ask you to open the hearts of the ones that are here today, God. As Sue was saying, the politicians, the ones that have the power, God, touch their hearts and let them know that people are living, the homeless are living out in this type of, it is your world, Lord. But this is our society that we be able to help the ones that need to be helped. God, I ask you to bless this service, but bless the ones that always have fought hard and the advocates for the homeless, God. God, I ask you to continue to watch over us. Let us show the love that we should have for everyone that is standing close to each other today. But let that love just continue to reach out and touch, that it will be able to help the ones that are homeless. But God, above all, watch over them as they sleep homeless at night in this cold weather and even in the heat in the summertime. God, we ask this all in your darling son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Councilmember. Another good friend of mine. I'm so lucky to be here.
Amen. All right.
All all you good people. This is Sarah Hickman. That's all you do.
Are we doing our duet?
I'm just trying to get the mic.
I'm starting to feel like Cher all of a sudden. Okay. Well, this is my third year to be here at the sunrise service, and I wanted to say that I hope Richard doesn't mind if I go off for a second, but I just wanted to talk about how angry I feel. I don't know how y'all feel when you go down the street and you see people trying to sleep and they're freezing to death, literally, on the streets. And people are walking around them and over them, and as if they're invisible. And I just say to you, if you haven't done this, which I'm sure I'm preaching to the crowd here, but if you haven't done this, next time you see one of those people, stop and ask them what you can do for them. It doesn't take very long, and you would be amazed at how when they come up from under that blanket, they say, I'm cold, I'd just like some mittens, or could you get me a cup of coffee? And spend 15 to 30 minutes with that person if you can, and your heart will soar, and not only will your heart soar, but you will have changed a moment in time for this person. You will give them hope, as well as you will be changing and altering the homeless situation.
Amen.
I tell you, it just takes one voice to start a choir. This is the third year I've been here, and there's at least 3 times as many people as there was the first year I was here. There was hardly anybody here, and it was very depressing. And it's a slow-growing movement, and that's a sad thing that we're letting people that we don't know that we could possibly love die on the streets for no other reason than that they can't stay warm, and they can't have food to be healthy, and they can't get medical treatment. So please, next time you see someone, don't be afraid. Just go up and gently touch them and say, what can I do for you? Now, I've sung this song every year, and Richard asked me to sing again. This is just, to me, it implies it all, and so I'm going to sing it again. It's all right. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay. And I love you. Night and day. And it's all right. It's okay. This house may fall, but not on you. This house may fall, but not on you. And I love you. Night and day. And it's all right. It's okay. And times will be hard, but we'll get through. Times will be hard, but we'll get through. And I love you. Night and day. And it's all right. It's okay.
like to introduce the Vice President of House the Homeless, my friend Cecilia Blanford.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you all for being here. I had the good pleasure this year of introducing a friend to our community, a friend to myself, really a friend to each of us, the Honorable Judge Sam Visco. Sam is from Tyler, Texas.
Amen.
And he graduated in '73 with a law degree from UT here. And he's been very instrumental in doing great works of advocacy. He doesn't tout his past experience and what he's done, but he actually was the Texas lawyer for the desegregation of Austin in the 70s.
Hallelujah.
It's shocking that even had to happen in as late as the 70s, in Austin, Texas.
All right.
And also he fought 10 years from when he graduated until the mid-80s, almost the mid-80s, for the Texas prison case, and that's to change the conditions of our Texas prison system. And so you can see that background he's carried with him. He worked many years for the Department of Agriculture, and then he finally made it to the Commissioner's Court for Travis County, served quite a while there, and many times I went before him as an advocate and for nonprofits and with other nonprofits, and Judge Visco always listened, he always had an ear, he always had compassion. Like not many others, he's very approachable. You know, we call him Sam, you know, and he's the honorable judge, and we call him Sam. So I just feel it's a real honor to introduce him today and ask you all to give him a fine welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecilia, for that very fine introduction, and good morning. Today we've come, once again, to remember the homeless men, women, and children who have died on our streets here in Austin and Travis County. It is reported that 62 homeless people died in Austin during the past 12 months. To the extent that homelessness caused or contributed to their death, this is 62 deaths too many. We debate the number of homeless in our community, but we know it is at least 4,000. It may well be twice this number at 8,000. You know, we've developed a way to see them, but not see them. To know other suffering, but to remain unmoved by it. To benignly overlook their plight when we wish them no harm, but give them no help as we go about our daily lives. They are our brothers and sisters. Their children are our children. Their lack of fortune and ill fate shortchanges our future too. Dealing with the homeless is like dealing with the casualties of war in one sense. The individual characteristics, the distinctions, human distinctions, get lost in the statistics. 4,000 to 8,000 seems like a problem too big to solve. But when we focus on the individual lives and deaths, the obituaries often read the same as those for the rich and the famous. And the eulogies really tell the story also of unfulfilled potential. The Statesman yesterday told of an individual who recently died, one Thomas Sitman, whom I did not get a chance to know. He started in Taylor, Texas, just right down the street. Once had a good job in electronics, had a home and 2 children, painted landscapes, airplanes, pyramids, had a calming presence that did not tell of the suffering that he endured. He had friends whom he thanked before he departed. He endured poverty, jail, divorce, mental illness before he died on our streets. A few days ago, he was as much alive as you and I are today. I'm sure that his dreams and hopes of recovery, though maybe not as lofty as ours, were as lively and motivation, no, for him. Today he may join the hundreds who lie in the Travis County International Cemetery. For many, many homeless folk have been put to rest there. As we remember the great number of the homeless persons among us now, and the large number who die each year, let us also remember that each of them is a unique individual who had hopes, dreams, aspirations, and God-given talents, unique creations of our God. Homelessness has been with us long enough for us to know what we need to do to address it. We need housing, permanent and temporary, clothing, food, medical services and medical health treatment, legal advice, security and protection, job skills, training and placement assistance, a variety of counseling services, anger management, family therapy, etc., understanding and patient employers, and yes, Richard, a living wage. All of the homeless need our help, but we at least need to have programs and services readily available for those who reach out and seek assistance. I am thankful that we have in our community people who genuinely care about homeless persons and who want to be part of the solution. We are blessed to have Richard Troxell, House the Homeless Incorporated, the Salvation Army, Central Texas Legal Aid, Capital Area Homeless Alliance, Austin Resource Center for the Homeless, and many, many more nonprofit agencies, advocates, and yes, faith-based organizations and institutions who assist the homeless not only during the week of remembrance, but day in and day out throughout the year. Finally, let us renew our commitment to do much more to address the needs of homeless persons in our community, to better understand the causes, to increase the resources, funds available, to educate our residents about the need to allocate more resources to help homeless persons transition back into productive tax-paying citizens. Some will point to the slow economy and say that this is not a good time. But when you're trying to do the right thing for less fortunate persons, human beings, our fellow human beings, the time is always right. It says in Deuteronomy, if there is a poor man among our brothers in any towns of the land that the Lord has given us, do not remember that you cannot be hard-hearted or tight-fisted toward your poor brother. Rather be open-handed and freely lend him whatever he needs. We have a good partnership of the public sector, private individuals, nonprofits, and faith-based groups and institutions. We should tighten this partnership and make it more productive. These times, tough times, should compel us to work harder and smarter to do more for the homeless, not less. Let's remember those lives that have been lost on our streets. Let's thank those whose efforts have kept this number from being even higher. And let's commit together here next year with 0 homeless persons to be added to the long list of those whom we should remember. God, give us the courage, compassion, and commitment to help the homeless who still live with us, to ensure that their lives are fuller and better fated than the brothers and sisters whom we have come to remember and honor today.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
County Commissioner Judge Sam Visco, thank you, sir. And as Cecilia says, County Judge. County Judge. I just know him as Sam, I don't know. You know, politicians will say what it takes to get reelected. But that's not what Judge Sam Visco is about, nor Raul Alvarez, or Councilmember Danny Thomas, or Jackie Goodman. Judge Sam Visco just passed for the county an endorsement to send a message to the federal government that we need to fix the federal minimum wage.
All right. Amen. All right. Yay.
Sam led that charge
Yeah.
with the citizens of Austin, because if we don't get it fixed at the top, down here at the bottom, we're not going to make it.
Amen.
And they're not going to get it at the top if we don't do what we have to do down here at the bottom.
God. Yeah.
It's a partnership, and that's what he was talking about.
Amen.
I'd like to share with you a poem that was written by a friend of mine, Julia Dinsmore. And like every homeless person that I've ever known, is in and out of homelessness because that's the nature of it. My name is not those people. I'm a loving woman, a mother in pain, giving birth to the future, where my babies have the same chance to thrive as anyone. My name is not inadequate. I did not make my husband leave us. He chose to, and chooses not to pay child support. But truth be told, there isn't a job base for all fathers to support their families. While society turns its head, my children pay the price. My name is not problem and case to be managed. I am a capable human being and citizen, not a client. The social service system can never replace the compassion and concern of loving grandparents, aunts, uncles, fathers, cousins, community, all the bonded people who need to be but are not present to bring children forward to their potential. My name is not lazy, dependent welfare mother. If the unwaged work of parenting, homemaking, and community building was factored into gross domestic product, my work would have untold value. And I wonder why my middle-class sisters, whose husbands support them to raise their children, are glorified, and yet somehow they don't get called lazy and dependent. My name is not ignorant, dumb, or uneducated. I live with an income of $621 and $169 in food stamps. Rent is $585. That leaves $36 a month to live on. Well, I am such a genius at surviving that I could balance the state budget in an hour.
All right.
Never mind that there is a lack of living wage jobs. Never mind that it is impossible to be the sole emotional, social, and economic support to an entire family. Never mind that parents are losing their children to the gangs, drugs, stealing, prostitution, social workers, kidnapping, and the streets. Forget about putting money into our schools, just build more prisons. My name is not lay down and die quietly. My love is powerful, and my urge to keep my children alive will never stop. All children need homes and people who love them. They need safety and a chance to be the people they were born to be. The wind will stop before I let my children become a statistic. And before you give in to the urge to blame me, and before we choke on that blame that blinds us and draws us into the isolation that disconnects us, take another look. Don't go away, for I am not the problem, but the solution. And my name is not those people. Julia Dinsmore. Sandra Frazier now works for Councilmember Danny Thomas, At one point, she worked with me. I'm just pleased to introduce Sandra Fraser, who's going to read the proclamation for National Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week.
Before I read the proclamation, I'd like to share some things with you guys. Richard is great, and anybody that has him on his side, believe he's going to fight for you.
Amen. Amen.
I worked for Richard a few years ago and learned a great deal about myself and homelessness. I became homeless also. Richard doesn't know that. But I was homeless for 4 years, and it's a struggle. And anybody that's homeless, I really understand what you're going through. I agree with Sarah when she said that we need to stop and help the homeless. I'm one of the few people that I know that actually stop and offer assistance. The Bible tells us that we're to help the orphan and the widows, and we are to always help each other. And if you can walk by a homeless person and cross the street or not give them a hand of any help, then you're not doing what is required of each and every one of us that live on this earth that God created for us. All of us have freedoms, and if you don't help other people, then you're not doing what is required. That does not be awareness for 1 week, but for the rest of our lives.
Amen. Amen.
The proclamation reads, "Be it known that whereas the homeless population in Austin and throughout the country face severe economic and psychological devastation, and whereas advocates for the homeless across the nation are uniting to call attention to the plight of many men, women, and children who lack the means to provide for their basic needs, and whereas we call on all citizens to make an effort to fight this waste of human potential, needless suffering, and tragic loss of life. Now, therefore, I, Garcia, Mayor of the City of Austin, Texas, do hereby proclaim November the 10th through the 17th as the National Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week, and it's signed by Gus Garcia. And I leave you guys. I'm going to present this to Joanne.
I'm short. Yes, it's fine. I'm pleased to accept this proclamation on behalf of Austin homeless. The 4,000 to 8,000 that we have here in Austin and the homeless throughout the country, and also on behalf of a special member of House of Homeless, Bobby Rai Jawaria, who lives in Uganda. We've been sponsoring her through Christian Children's Fund since 1995, and currently Uganda is under severe civil war. Since August, 600,000 children have been made homeless. And Bobby Rai and I are like birth mother and daughter. And, that's just the bond that we've been able to form. And so I'd like to read a poem about her. It says, "Bobby Rai, when you were 14 years old, I introduced you to the miracle of the telephone. In the first 20 minutes of our phone conversations each Christmas for the next 4 years went, I love you, Mom. I love you too, Bobby Rai. I love you, Mom. I love you too, Bobby Rai." And on, while the staff was tapping their fingers, wondering when they could talk. Then the hatred in this world cut off this connection we cherished as mom and daughter. Last year, when planes flew into tall buildings in my country, tearing children from mothers, fathers, and aunts and uncles in the fabric of love like war always does. And now civil war expands in your country to tear children from mothers, fathers, and aunts and uncles in Uganda. I love you, Mom, is what I need to hear, so much to hear again, Bobby Rye. But that time seems so far away that the world's hatred will cease and we can reconnect with joy. But always remember, I love you too, Bobby Rye, and so do all of your house to homeless brothers and sisters. And one thing I do want to add about Christian Children's Fund, because this country doesn't have a universal living wage like we're working for, they help over 4 million children just in the United States, including Texas. And it's a great, they help, I don't know how many millions of children throughout the world, but I think the magnitude of the problem here in the United States. But anyway, I just want to thank Senator for that proclamation.
Joanne is the heart and soul of House the Homeless. We look to her for guidance. And Bobby Rye became homeless when she lost both her parents to the AIDS epidemic. It's all one world. We're all one people. We have to understand that. I'd like to introduce to you George Ruiz with the County Veterans Organization here. You know, there's somewhere between 23% and 30% of the homeless community are veterans. I'm a Vietnam veteran. We have this memorial during this time during the year so that we can connect with Veterans Day within a week. And George is here to speak on behalf of the veterans. Thank you, George.
Thank you. As Richard said, my name is George Ruiz, and I'm with the Travis County Veteran Service Office. And what we do is we assist the veterans with their benefits that they're entitled to receive. There's about a 5-digit figure number of homeless veterans in the nation, and so that contributes to the 4,000 to 8,000 members or people that the judge mentioned. So what we have towards assisting the veterans is through the Veterans Administration. So, and if there is a health requirement, they can get enrolled into the health care program and through the Veterans Administration and receive that assistance. If they're in eligibility for a VA pension, they also are entitled to receive that. And that's how we get involved with trying to help the veterans and saluting them for their service that they provided to our country. So we're located over at the Palm Square building, and it's over at the corner of IH 35 and Cesar Chavez. And we're available there to assist the veterans. And I just would like to take this moment to salute all veterans that have served and thank them for their service to our country.
Yeah.
Thank you, George. I'd like Leslie, could you come up here? And PJ, the cowboy poet, we're going to have the reading of the names.
Thank you guys for being here. You know, I didn't know a lot of times what to say, but I looked on a little t-shirt this morning and said, from Galatians, it says, just bear your brother's burdens. That's just simple words.
Amen.
Bear your brother's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ.
Amen.
And so we're going to start with that and start calling the names that are here on the list, which probably aren't including a lot of names that died on our streets this year. And I'm honored to get to salute these people.
Amen.
Michael Allen.
Christine Angelo.
Jose Guadalupe Burnell.
James Brown.
Rosa Lee Brown.
Clarence Bullard,
Stevie Joe Chapman,
Robert Dale Cobb,
Zebediah Coffey,
Wayne Darling,
James E. Davis,
Ruth Donahue,
Terry Dunno,
Laura Howell Evans,
Keith Farley,
Harold Fay,
James Houston Blake,
Sherry Ann Fox,
Frank Whitefeather,
Teresa Galdamez,
Angelita Gomez,
Walter Green, Mountain Man,
Louise Brett Hannon,
John James Haney,
Sarah Herring,
Alfred Hernandez,
Abe Littlehill,
Warren Hunt,
Anita James,
Renee Jefferson,
Mr. Charles Johnson,
Johnny Jones,
Paul Logan,
Warren Marion,
Jane Lynn Mitchell,
Van Nguyen,
Euphrates Moreto,
Paul Palazzola,
and the list goes on. Joan Perry,
San Luis Potosi Petra,
Steve Price,
Frederick Ramon,
Mac Randolph,
Red Dog, Billy Joe,
Donnie Robinson,
Mark Leon Robinson,
Jorge Roberto Rodas,
John Francis Sedera,
Diana Kathy Simpson,
Thomas Pittman,
Mary Elizabeth Smith,
Chris Stein,
Moselle Stewart,
George A. Thomas,
Sam Houston Thomas,
James Thompson,
George Vanston,
Phyllis Renee Walker,
Bruce E. Warner,
Earl Washington,
James Harold Washington,
Barry Columbus Williams,
Emmanuel Seguia. These are the names on the list this year. We all could maybe take just a minute, bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we call into these names, just souls set free for you, that have set service in our community, that have been part of this community and served and done everything that they could to make sure that their lives glorified your spirit as ours will. All these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you. You know, it's been said here today that each one of these people is a member of a family, has been a member of a family. A mother, a sister, a brother, an aunt, an uncle, cousin to someone. Even John Kelso took time out of his article this year to pay homage to Mountain Man.
All right.
Just folks. Just folks. PJ, you gonna do a song for us, bud?
That's fine. You know, Sarah said a while ago that it only takes one voice to start a choir.
Amen.
And so I'm going to ask a few people up here. This is the good Jim Jones. This is Pam Harper. Of course, you guys know Trent Judson wrote a musical called Streets. about the homelessness in our city.
Amen.
And Sarah's going to help us sing. This is a little tune that me and Jim Jones wrote, and it's to the tune of Amazing Grace. I hope you guys will hum with us
Praise the Lord.
on this Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Wander through these streets, looking for my home, my country 'tis not dear. One heart, one world, how sweet that sound that saved a man like me. We are not alone, even though we know we walk down life's highway. Our home above, conceived in love. For now I choose to be free. Amazing grace has made me strong, has saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. The wings of love can make you fly. It brings a peace to your soul. Worry not, my dear friend, God's promises never end. Someday we'll live as one. Amazing grace has made me strong, has saved a wretch like me. Our home is above, conceived in love. Someday we'll live as one. Someday we'll live as one. Amen.
For those of you that are starting to get a little salt and pepper going, you'll remember Shirley Chisholm.
Praise the Lord.
Quite a fighter.
Praise the Lord.
In 1969, she wrote, unless we start to fight and defeat the enemies of poverty and racism in our own country and make our talk of equality and opportunity ring true when we are exposed as hypocrites in the eyes of the world, when we talk about making other people free. It all starts right here. You know, 3.5 million people are going to experience homelessness this year. At some point, you're going to be at a water cooler and somebody's going to make an inappropriate joke about a woman or a black person or a Hispanic person. And you're going to say, hey man, that's not cool. Somebody can make a joke about a guy in a business suit flying a sign out of work. Man, that's not cool. Somebody's going to call him a bum or a transient. Transient. That means something. When you call someone a transient, that means that they're not part of this community and we don't have to worry about them because they're just passing through. In 1997, House the Homeless did a statistical survey of the visibly homeless here in the city of Austin. The average homeless person had lived here for 7.6 years. They're part of our community. The fiber of America. It starts with us, each word, each person. We are now entering the final chapter of homelessness. We know what it takes to defeat homelessness. Affordable housing, health care, livable incomes. But it's a long chapter we're entering, and the hardest of all. And people are still going to be out here, living and dying. When you leave here today, wrap your arms around someone you don't know. And remember, their name is not those people. I'd like to ask Councilmember Danny Thomas to close us with a prayer.
As we close today, just want to let Richard know that God has never forsaken you and that he's going to give you all the strength that you need to continue to do the fight and the struggles. And he has not turned his back on you or the homeless, but he is holding us responsible, the ones that can make a change. And I just wanted to encourage you today, my friend.
Grab somebody's hand, y'all.
Let's make a circle.
Circle of love.
Not break. Let's everyone join hands.
Girls will stand behind me. They can't.
Thank you, Councilmember Alvarez, for being here today. Father in heaven, as we come, and as we form the circle today, God, we form the circle of love. We form the circle of the needy. We form the circle of the ones that can help. God, we ask you to continue to watch over us as this day go forward. And Father, we ask you to just continue to pray for the ones that, families, and the ones that names were mentioned, God, as went on home. But God, we ask you to continue to watch over us today and continue to guide us and continue to pull in our minds and continue to put in our hearts what we really need to do. Because Jesus made it clear one day when he was talking, saying, all that you have not done for me, you have not done it for the people that are in need. God, we ask you to continue to bind this circle. But God, we ask you to make this circle the circle that would be strong enough that we will not have to come and read names next year. But God, we ask you to continue to watch over the ones that are homeless, God. And God, we ask that the government, the city, the county, in whatever government they're in, to do the right thing by the homeless people. And Father, as we pray today, we thank you for who you are in our lives. We ask it all in your darling Son, Jesus' name. Let us all say amen.
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 I want to thank you all for coming. Sarah Hickman's going to sing a final song for us as we go. I invite you to some food, some coffee. I want to thank my wife, my daughter, everyone else here today who has contributed to this gathering. God bless you all. Go in peace.
Well, I hope I see you later, 'cause it's time for me to go. And my ride is just pulled over, but it sure was good to know you. And go answer your calling, go and fill somebody's cup. And if you see an angel falling, oh, won't you stop and help them up? 'Cause oh, well, we are each other's angels. Oh, and we meet when it is time. Oh, we keep each other going, and we show each other signs. Sometimes you'll stumble, or sometimes you'll just lie down. And sometimes you will get lonely with all these people around. And oh, you might shiver when the wind blows, yeah, or you might get blown away. You might lose a little colors, and you might lose a little faith. But oh, well, we are each other's angels.